Where am I going to go from here? Hi guys, welcome back to the Mama Nurse channel where we talk about everything nursing, motherhood, and lifestyle. I'm Vanessa. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you can be notified every time I drop a new video. Today we're going to talk about my experience as assistant nurse manager. So exactly 2 years and 3 months into my nursing career as a med-surg nurse is when I became assistant nurse manager. This was on the unit that I was currently working as a med-surg nurse, and it was also after I had my first child. It was coming back from maternity leave that I walked into this role and took on this new position. I will link my Path in Nursing video as well as my med-surg experience video in case you missed how I got to this point. For those of you that have been keeping up with videos, I won't bore you with the same information. For those of you that may have missed it, they'll be down in the description box as well as up in the cards at a later time in this video. So a lot of changes were going on at this point in my life. I was a new mom, I was breastfeeding, I was switching over to night shift, and I took on a new position. In a sense, it worked out for the best because I had my first child. We did make the decision that I was going to go over to night shift, and being that they had this role open and available, I figured why not? If I'm going to be on night shift anyways, I might as well advance my career a little bit, have a little bit more income to help out with the family. So I took on the position. So I got trained for about 3 to 4 shifts, new role that I was going to be in. And I was on the same unit that I was working as a med-surg nurse, so it made that transition a little bit better. I already knew the charting system. I had been relief charge nurse, so I knew a lot of the charge nurse duties. That was more than half of the new role. There were just some other things that were factored in that I had to learn during this process. So my duties for this role included staffing, such as schedules for night shift, as well as making the day shift assignments. That just means basically picking which nurse and which tech would have each assignment. We had to do quarterly evals on nurses and techs. We were required to do rounding on this unit. It was a 24-bed unit, so I was required each shift to round on each patient, make sure that everything was going okay, write down any complaints or concerns that they had, and we were responsible for correcting those issues as well. I was also responsible for patient or family recovery, staff reprimands. Sunday, we were required to do a narcotic count in the Pyxis. So that's just when you go in and count all of the narcotics and make sure that the counts are appropriate and correct. Those were due every Sunday night. Also required to do shift huddles. We would have one shift huddle at the beginning of our shift and then one shift huddle at the end of our shift. That was with the staff that was leaving and the staff coming on. These shift huddles also included a prayer. I was also required to just do overall management of the staff, as well as chart audits and running codes. There was a substantial pay increase with this role. I won't discuss numbers, but it made sense as a new mom to take on this position. So a typical shift as assistant nurse manager on night shift, I would come in, I would get report from the day shift charge. We would go out, I would make sure that the assignments that were made were appropriate. We would conduct shift huddle. Once everybody dispersed and started getting their report for the night, we would make the assignment board so that everybody knew which nurse and which tech was assigned to each assignment. Once that was complete, I would quickly do a little computer work as far as looking over briefly the patient's charts and just check what needs to be done right away. If there's nothing emergent going on, then I would go ahead and start my evening rounds. I tried to do my rounds pretty early in the shift because I didn't want people to start to fall asleep and I would not want to wake them up just to do those rounding. So I tried to get it done before the nurses did their nighttime medications or while they were doing their nighttime med pass. Once all of my rounding was done, keep in mind that not everything went in this correct flow or this exact flow. Sometimes things would happen and I would break away and have to tend to something and then come back. People on other units needed IVs, they would sometimes call us and things like that. So there was a lot going on, a lot that goes into your 12-hour shift. Once the rounding was complete, then I would check in with my nurses and my techs to make sure that everybody was okay, see if anybody needed help with anything. During all of this, we would be getting admissions, we would be getting discharges. So all of those calls are coming to me, and I would have to make those assignments, let that nurse know, hey, you're getting a patient to such and such room. Always a helping hand on the unit. So if anybody needed help, whether they needed a cosign, whether they needed help with a turn or help with even a med pass, I was willing to do it. Once those things were done, I would go ahead and sit down and do my full chart audits. That's basically making sure that anybody who had Foley catheters had an order for it. People that were on restraints, make sure that the charting is appropriate and things like that. We had new schedules coming out. I would work on scheduling to make sure that it was balanced and that we had enough staff for each shift. During the quarterly evals, that paperwork as well. If those staff members were on shift with me that night, we would break away for a little bit, go into the office and go ahead and go over the evaluations. I would give them the opportunity to dispute anything in their evaluations that they were not proud of or that they did not feel was accurate, which never happened, but they had the opportunity to. We would sign it and we would continue on with our shift. At about 3 o'clock, we have to do basically nursing care plans. We call them IPOCs. And basically you just have to update that each shift. So we send out reminders so that everybody gets that done on time, because that was really important to us. And then towards the end of the shift, I would start working on the day shift assignments, getting shift huddle together and prepared, and just doing a little bit of housekeeping. Overall, this was a great experience. I had a great staff that I was working with, probably one of the best staff that I've ever worked with. I definitely held them dear to my heart. It was my first nursing position, so everybody there, we bonded, and it was a really nice experience. About a year and a half later, I really started thinking this position that I took on. Taking on this position at such a young age. At the time, I was 26 years old, and I just started thinking, do I want to be an actual manager from here? Can I fire people? I honestly don't think so, or at least I don't want to. I didn't want to be away from bedside for the rest of my career, and that's the path of management for the most part. Once you get into the management role, you're away from the bedside, and next thing you know, it's 10 years later and you haven't been a bedside nurse. I didn't really want that to nursing because I love the bedside. I love the hands-on role of it. I didn't want to be away from the bedside for the rest of my career. During my role as assistant nurse manager, I had to do 2 write-ups. I only lost 1 staff member. I'm as assistant nurse manager, not directly because of me, just the staff ended up leaving the facility. So I only lost 1 staff member during my time in that role. And once again, my staff was awesome. So a little while after having my second baby, I decided to get back to bedside, and I took on a travel assignment. So I did travel nursing for quite a bit. I'll link that video up above so that you can check out my experience on that. All in all, I love the opportunity. It looks great on my resume, and I gained experience and skills that I wouldn't have gained just doing bedside. Would I do it again? Maybe. Depends on what path I ultimately take when it comes to this nursing career. I think it would definitely be later in life. I hope that the next time that I am assistant nurse manager or manager, it continues to go up from there as far as advancing my career. I am always open to being charge nurse or relief charge nurse. Those roles you can still do bedside on those other nights or shifts that you have. But what can I say? Only time will tell. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed my experience as assistant nurse manager. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and live life.